For this video, I've gotten the chance to interview Sitt, who is a professor at the University of Illinois at Chicago, and she teaches in the Department of Earth and Environmental Sciences. So how and when did you become interested in geology?
It wasn't until college that I became interested in geology or knew more about the discipline. And it was just a friend I had suggested that she was majoring in biology and geology. And she thought that I might be interested in the combination of physics and geology. So I took my first geology course in my sophomore year of college.
What was your education process like?
So I went to a four-year small liberal arts school to earn my bachelor's degree. And then while I was in undergrad, I was able to participate in a couple research internships. And I really enjoyed those and found that I could excel at research. So then I went on to graduate school and did a PhD program. And I spent 5 years sort of, researching and being a teaching assistantship. And then I earned my PhD.
And what's your current job like?
My current job is as a university professor. And I focus more on working with undergraduates and teaching. So my day-to-day is sort of teaching, creating curriculum, interacting with students, answering emails, things like that.
And what do you study and do research on currently?
Yeah, so I've been more interested. My PhD was in seismology, sort of studying earthquakes and plate tectonics. But currently I've sort of been interested more in education and educational research. And so I've been looking, at how to support diverse students, students, women, students from underrepresented groups, and how I can support them in the geosciences. I've also done research trips where I went out into the field to collect data and things like that. And so some of the places I've been have been like Washington and Oregon. I would spend a couple weeks sort of driving up and down, installing seismometers and collecting data. And I did the same sort of similar activity in southern Mexico.
Does earthquakes or fracking have anything to do with climate?
Definitely a big topic in the geosciences, and hydraulic fracking methods often leads to induced earthquakes. And, places like Oklahoma and Ohio have saw an increase in induced earthquakes, places like Texas as well. The U.S., started fracking because, one, they wanted to become more energy independent. And then also there's just a large demand for oil and natural gas. I think probably all jobs are having to think a lot about climate change because it's impacting where there's different demand for different things.
What do you teach specifically?
So I always say geoscience is kind of like the big header. Like if that were like biology, geoscience is kind of the big header. But then I teach different courses. Like one is a course we call Earth, Energy, and the Environment. And it's an introductory level course. And so it covers topics like natural resources and earth materials and plate tectonics. There's another introductory course that talks more about climate change and the atmosphere. But I don't teach that course. It's not my expertise, but it's something I'm still learning about, but it's definitely something students want to know about.
How do you stay motivated in your work?
I think we have to look for projects that energize us. And so, like, for instance, when I was teaching this climate change unit to the class, it's very brief. A whole course can be about climate change, right? But for one of my courses, I have to teach it in 2 weeks. A very abbreviated thing. So I try to, from year to year, I try to think about what did the students gravitate towards, and what ideas did they really like, and how can I allow them to kind of get interested in the different components that interest them, whether it's they want to look at, so for me, it's like developing projects, and so that the students can do, so they can kind of like investigate on their own. So there were all these extreme weather events, like we had the largest, hurricane season in a long time, where we started using Greek letters to name the hurricanes. There were those really extreme like wildfires in Australia. So our extreme weather events increasing because of climate change, or what's the cause of that? Allowing students to look at sea level rise and what cities might be impacted, what infrastructure might be impacted. So I think to keep me motivated, I have to sometimes work with different people, I think, and to kind of get creative juices flowing. And then also, there's always challenges, and then, you're just trying to problem solve around it. And for the most part, that keeps me motivated.
Stephanie also happens to be my cousin, so she's played a role in inspiring me in climate and the field of science in general since I was a kid. My climate leadership history is quite brief, but one moment that sticks out to me is when I worked at a diner a couple of years ago, and I firsthand saw all the trash and garbage that was being generated, even by a small business, and this business could not afford recycling, so I decided to set up a little recycling station in the back, in the corner, where the chefs and my bosses and people working could put recyclable items in there, like cardboard, milk cartons, plastic cups, stuff like that, and I would bring it home myself to recycle it. And I thought that was just a really good way to help reducing the trash in some way. My hopes for the future is that I can become more involved in ways that can help people who are being affected by climate change. I do think climate change is a very serious issue, and I hope people can become more conscious and aware of it so they can help in any way they can to help solve this problem.